Hi, so today I am going to be talking about Dr. Stephen Hawking, particularly his personal life behind all of the science. So, Stephen Hawking was born on January 8th in 1942. An interesting coincidence, actually, is that his birthday is the 300-year anniversary of the death of Galileo Galilei, a man who he idolized throughout his entire life. Stephen Hawking was the oldest child of three siblings, Philippa, Mary, and Edward, and they all grew up in a small town called St. Albans, which is about 20 miles north of London in England. Education was very valued in his family when he was growing up, and he was often encouraged to read, sometimes even at the dinner table. Education was kind of placed above everything else for their family. And he actually came from a family of doctors, both from his mother and his father's side. His dad was actually a parasitologist, and from a young age, Stephen was encouraged to study medicine, but actually took more of a liking to mathematics and physics, much to his father's dismay. And so then when he went on to his undergraduate studies, he attended the University College at Oxford, where he decided to study physics because they didn't have a mathematics program. And then he ended up liking it, so he went on to do his graduate studies at Trinity Hall, Cambridge, where he eventually graduated with a PhD in applied mathematics and theoretical physics, and specialized in general relativity and cosmology. So basically, he studied the universe, and his thesis work for his PhD was on black holes, a topic which he ended up studying for the rest of his career. Unfortunately, during his college years, during his PhD program, in 1963, he was diagnosed with ALS, or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. A lot of people know it as Lou Gehrig's disease. This is a disease that affects the motor neurons in the brain and spinal cord. Just a tragic disease, eventually will lead to paralysis and loss of speech. It is a fatal disease. Many people who receive this diagnosis don't expect to live much longer than a few years. Stephen was told he would only live about 2 years. He ended up living over 50 years, so it was kind of a bit of a medical miracle that he lived as long as he did with his disorder. But as far as his personal life goes, he married a woman named Jane Wilde in 1965. They met while at Cambridge, and they had a kind of a long history of marriage troubles. But during their marriage, they had three children: Robert, Lucy, and Timothy. Lucy and Stephen ended up working together. Once Lucy got a little bit older, they wrote some books together and spent some time together doing that. Um, but when they were still young, as I said, him and Jane did have some marriage troubles. Um, a lot of it was brought on by his increasingly severe disabilities because of the ALS, and it just ended up being a lot for her and a huge burden on her and the family. Eventually, they kind of grew apart, and Stephen ended up falling in love with his nurse, Elaine Mason, and the two were married in 1995, but were only married about 11 years, divorced in 2006. And then so Stephen spent the rest of his life after his divorce from Elaine. He was single and decided to focus on his children, which at that point is when he spent some more time with Lucy writing those books and things like that. But Stephen Hawking, is most notably known for his career and the many, many achievements he had there. So he worked at the University of Cambridge for the rest of his life after his PhD, and he was uh, awarded the Lucasian Professor of Mathematics, which is a very noble position. It was once held by other notable scientists like Isaac Newton, for example. Throughout his time at Cambridge, he studied black holes in space-time, and one of the things he was most known for was Hawking radiation, is what it has become to be known, and it basically describes radiation emitted by black holes in deep space, something that was not prior understood. He also wrote a best-selling book, A Brief History of Time, which went on to sell millions of copies. He was a fellow of the Royal Society, which is an English scientific academy. Other scientists that have been named to this academy have been Charles Darwin, Albert Einstein. It's a huge honor. He was also a recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom from Barack Obama. Unfortunately, he passed away on March 14th, 2018, at the age of 76. As I mentioned previously, he had battled ALS for over 50 years, which was a huge amount of time, unlike many others. Um, One of his biggest contributions to the scientific community was his understanding of black holes and the structures of the universe. Also, he made science accessible to and exciting for many people. So he kind of showed everybody that science was available for everyone to participate in. So Stephen Hawking, he shows us all that to not only persevere, but to even thrive in situations when we're faced with the most daunting of obstacles. And for that, I think he is a wonderful person to study.